From the moment Amaka and Adana were born, people couldn't stop talking about how identical they were. But as they grew, it became clear that they were not the same in character. Amaka, the older by a few minutes, was always the favored one. Beautiful, intelligent, and loved by everyone. Their parents, neighbors, and even teachers often compared them, unknowingly planting the seed of bitterness in Adana's heart. She couldn't understand why, despite being twins, Amaka was the one people always praised while she was just the other one. Adana tried to keep up, but no matter how hard she tried, she always felt like she was in Amaka's shadow. When they were 10, their mother bought a beautiful red dress for Amaka and gave Adana a simple yellow one. "You know red suits Amaka better," their mother had said casually, not realizing how those words burned Adana. That night, while Amaka slept peacefully, Adana stared at her, her heart filled with envy. She hated the way Amaka smiled so easily, the way people loved her without effort. It wasn't fair. As they got older, things only got worse. In secondary school, boys always admired Amaka first, calling her the finer twin while Adana was left behind. Even when she tried to dress like her sister or copy her mannerisms, it never worked. Amaka was effortlessly charming while Adana struggled to be noticed. By the time they were in university, Adana had learned to hide her jealousy behind a smile, but deep inside it grew, feeding on every comparison, every little slight, and every moment Amaka unknowingly took the spotlight. One day during their final year in university, Amaka met Chinedu, a tall, handsome guy who immediately fell in love with her. He was kind, hardworking, and had a bright future ahead. Adana was the one who introduced them at a friend's party, but she hadn't expected Chinedu to fall in love with Amaka. From that night, they became inseparable, and Adana found herself feeling that old familiar sting of jealousy. She liked Chinedu first, but he didn't even notice her. Instead, he looked at Amaka like she was the only girl in the world. Adana smiled and pretended to be happy for her sister, but deep inside she felt something dark growing. She started finding faults in Amaka, criticizing her in front of Chinedu subtly. "Amaka is always so carefree," she would say with a small laugh. "She forgets things easily. Oh, better not let her forget your birthday." But Chinedu only smiled, never taking the bait. As their relationship deepened, Adana became desperate. She started dressing like Amaka, speaking like her, even wearing her perfume when she knew Chinedu would be around. But nothing worked. Chinedu's eyes never left Amaka. It was at that moment that Adana made a silent promise to herself. She would find a way to take what was rightfully hers. She had spent her whole life living in Amaka's shadow, but not anymore. When Amaka and Chinedu got engaged, Adana's heart burned with rage. She smiled at the engagement party, hugging her sister tightly, but her mind was already planning. She started planting seeds of doubt in Chinedu's mind, telling small lies that sounded like innocent concerns. "Amaka has always been a little flirt," she said one evening. "Even back in school she had so many admirers. I just hope she can be faithful." Chinedu laughed it off at first, but once the thought was in his mind, it began to grow. Adana made sure to fuel it. She would arrange for Amaka to meet old male friends and then make sure Chinedu found out so he would be jealous. She even went as far as sending anonymous messages, pretending to be a concerned friend warning him about Amaka's secrets. Slowly, Chinedu started acting differently. The trust between him and Amaka weakened, and Adana was there to comfort him. When Amaka noticed Chinedu's change in behavior, she confided in Adana, unaware that her own twin was the cause. "Maybe he's just stressed," Adana said sweetly, hiding her satisfaction. "Give him time." But time didn't heal things, it only made them worse. Chinedu began questioning Amaka's loyalty, and their relationship became strained. Adana knew she was close to getting what she wanted. One evening, Amaka had to travel for work, and Adana saw her opportunity. She went to Chinedu's house under the guise of checking on him. She made him dinner, laughed at his jokes, and reminded him of all the times Amaka had hurt him. "You deserve better," she whispered, placing a hand on his. someone who truly understands you. And in that moment of weakness, Chinedu saw her for the first time, not as Amaka's twin but as a woman. That night, Adana did the unthinkable. She had her way with Chinedu. It was her victory, her proof that she could finally take something from Amaka. The next morning, Chinedu was filled with guilt, but Adana knew it was too late. It was a mistake, he said, avoiding her gaze. But she smiled. If it was a mistake, why did it feel so right? She whispered. She knew Chinedu was too ashamed to tell Amaka, and that was exactly what she wanted. Days turned into weeks, and Adana made sure to remind Chinedu of their connection. She made herself indispensable, always there when he needed someone to talk to. Slowly, he began pulling away from Amaka, and before long their engagement was called off. Amaka was heartbroken, confused about why Chinedu suddenly didn't want to marry her anymore. And just when she was trying to heal, Adana delivered the final blow. She and Chinedu were now together. Amaka was devastated. She confronted Adana, screaming, crying, demanding answers. But Adana only looked at her calmly and said, I was always second place, but not anymore. Amaka couldn't believe her own sister could betray her like this. Their mother was heartbroken, their family torn apart by the scandal. But Adana didn't care. She finally had what she wanted. Chinedu, on the other hand, wasn't as happy as he expected. Guilt ate him up, and he soon realized that Adana wasn't warm like Amaka, nor was she as kind and patient. But by the time he realized his mistake, it was too late. Adana was already pregnant, and marriage was the only option left. But even after marriage, Adana was never truly happy. She had taken Amaka's husband, but she still wasn't satisfied. Chinedu never loved her like he loved Amaka. No matter what she did, she still felt like she was in Amaka's shadow. And that was when she finally understood. Jealousy had never made her happy. It had only made her empty. At first, Adana thought she had finally won. She was married to Chinedu, and Amaka was alone, still nursing her heartbreak. But the victory was short-lived. Chinedu was distant, he barely talked to her. Even when she became pregnant, he showed no excitement. Adana started feeling like she had stolen something broken. It didn't take long for rumors to spread. People in their neighborhood whispered behind her back. She snatched her sister's fiancé, they said. How can a woman betray her own blood? Even their own mother barely spoke to her. Adana thought that Chinedu would eventually love her the way he loved Amaka. But instead he stayed out late, coming home smelling of alcohol. One night, when she confronted him about his behavior, he looked her dead in the eye and said, I never loved you, Adana. You tricked me and now I'm stuck. The words hit her harder than a slap. She had spent her whole life trying to take what Amaka had, thinking it would bring her happiness. But standing in that house, heavily pregnant with a man who resented her, she realized she had only destroyed herself. Worse still, she started noticing strange phone calls on Chinedu's phone, calls he quickly silenced when she was around. Her heart began to race. Something was wrong. Adana became restless. She needed to know what Chinedu was hiding. One evening, when he stepped into the bathroom, she quickly grabbed his phone and unlocked it. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through his messages. And then she saw it. His long, heartfelt text to none other than Amaka. I made a mistake, Amaka. I should have never let you go. I think about you every day. Please let me see you. I still love you. Adana felt her chest tighten. The same sister she had betrayed was now stealing back the man she had fought so hard to take. Her hands shook as she saw a message from Amaka. Chinedu, it's too late. You made your choice. But she wasn't convinced. The way Chinedu suddenly started dressing better, coming home smelling of fresh perfume and spending late nights out, it all pointed to one thing. He was trying to get Amaka back. When Chinedu returned from the bathroom, Adana confronted him, her voice shaking with anger. You're still in love with Amaka? She demanded. But Chinedu only looked at her with pity. I never stopped loving her, he admitted. You think you won, Adana? You only forced me into this marriage. You can have my name, but you'll never have my heart. The words sliced through her like a knife. The man she had fought so hard for was never hers to begin with, and now he was slipping away back to Amaka. The next day Adana stormed to Amaka's house, her rage boiling over. She banged on the door until Amaka opened it, looking both surprised and tired. So, you want to take him back? Adana hissed. After everything, you still want him? Amaka sighed, folding her arms. I don't want Chinedu back anymore. Not after all that has happened. She shook her head. But you can't force love. He will never love you the way he loved me. Adana felt her vision blur. You think you're better than me? She shouted. You've always had everything handed to you. You never had to fight for anything. Well, I fought and I won. Chinedu is mine. Amaka's face softened. Did you really win, Adana? You lost me and our family. Now you're losing Chinedu too. For the first time, Adana felt completely alone. She had spent her whole life trying to outshine Amaka, but in the end, all she had left was a broken marriage and a heart full of regret. Months passed and Adana gave birth to a baby boy. But instead of the joy she had expected, she only felt emptiness. Chinedu barely acknowledged the child. He provided money but never showed interest in being a father. He spent more time outside the house, and one day he simply didn't return. At first, Adana thought he had gone to see Amaka, but then she heard the shocking news. Chinedu had left the country. He had secretly applied for a job abroad and moved without telling her. He didn't even say goodbye. Adana collapsed in shock. After everything she had done, she was now alone, left to raise a child by herself. The news spread quickly. People who once gossiped about how she had betrayed her sister now talked about the consequences that had come upon her. Even her own mother refused to comfort her. You made this bed, Adana, she said simply. Now you must lie in it. The realization hit her hard. She had fought her whole life to take what belonged to Amaka, but in the end she had lost everything. Her sister, her family's respect, and the man she destroyed her life for.